I am throwing out the most common strategy in the game and reteaching how you approach this game that we all know, love, and sometimes hate. Fantasy football. I am here to strike out the mistakes so many of you are making before showing you the process that I used every single week that got me in the playoffs in all 4 of my fantasy leagues this year. The mistake so many people make is they rely on the dreaded fantasy projections. And I get it. These fantasy apps crunch algorithms together, they come up with a number for each player, and you feel like you're giving yourself the best chance to win by hitting the highest number. Then Evan Ingram scores 30 on your bench, or DeAndre Swift gets you 7 in your starting lineup this week. Instead of continuously going through that disappointing cycle, try this. Start by checking the team roster of all of your players. Injuries of players on the team could potentially help your player in terms of usage. For example, if you have a wide receiver 2 and the wide receiver 1 is out, keep that in the back of your head. Other injuries can damper your player's production, like having Trace McSorley in at quarterback when you need DeAndre Hopkins to get his usual 15 points for the week and he's in a primetime game. Context matters, and getting inside your player's upcoming matchup can't be done without looking at the pieces around him. Next, monitor past usage and production. Now, this could look like a variety of things, and this is especially important for players who you wouldn't classify as established. So players like Justin Jefferson, Derrick Henry, and Patrick Mahomes are always going to be starters. It's going to take a pretty decent argument to push them out of the way, or a pretty outrageous drop to the waiver wires for you to have to think twice about it. But in cases with wide receiver 2s or a running back you notice is now starting to get more reps, this strategy is critical. So what does this look like? Now, with running backs, I love to look at snap counts. Now, this isn't always cut and dry, as Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott had nearly an exact 50-50 split, despite the fact that Pollard was far more efficient. Nonetheless, their involvement on the field is public information, so why wouldn't you use it? For wide receivers, we want to look at things like targets and overall usage. So snap counts aren't as important. You can use them if you want, but teams usually have at least a pair of receivers out there unless it's a push the pile situation on 4th and inches. This next step is going to be especially important for quarterbacks if you're really between 2 people or if you have a bye week and you need to stream a quarterback. You have to look at the competition. Now, most fantasy apps will tell you where an opposing defense ranks, but that is just scratching the surface. If you have a slot receiver that you want to start, look at what the opposing defense has allowed to slot receivers in the past couple of weeks. You can look at how many yards per carry or pass yards per game teams allow in competitive games to gauge a running back or quarterback's matchup difficulty. You also need to check out the health of that defense. Keep in mind the stats that you're looking at for a defense are how that defense has been in terms of health the last few weeks. So if you've got somebody coming off IR or a major component of the secondary visiting IR, it's going to be a different story. A great rule of thumb is if you can look at the front 7 for running backs and the secondary for just about everybody else. Also, please do yourself a favor and consider game script. If there's a game between a Super Bowl contender and a bottom of the barrel team trying to go for that first overall draft pick, favor the passing game for the losing team and the running game for the winning team. If the game gets too out of hand and becomes a blowout, remember that backups may get thrown in and cut your guys' days short. And the last step, please do this one. Check everything the hour before your game. I understand you all have busy schedules and some people think, oh, I'll just set everything up Saturday night, sleep in, watch football, and it'll be great. Everything can change in that last 12 hours. Fantasy football is not a game where you can set it and forget it, where you can get the legwork done early. You can start early, but an hour before your games, you've got to check both sides for injuries or last-second news on usage. For all you know, one of your main players can be held to a pitch count and not end up playing a whole lot. Now, I'm not telling you to entirely ignore projections. If somebody is projected 10 points less than they were yesterday, you should probably look into that. It's a good supplemental source of information. Relying solely on projections, though, that's one of the few mistakes that fantasy owners make right off the bat. To see 4 more mistakes that we found, check out one of our recent videos on the topic. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Continue to like and subscribe for more fantasy research videos. Comment what you want to see next down below, and we will see you in the next one.